Hi, Joe.
What's up, Danielle?
Excited. I want to introduce everybody to my personal wellness coach, life coach, CrossFit coach.
Right.
Yeah, this is George Martinez. He's a friend of mine, and he is just an inspiration. And I wanted to bring him here to tell his story and hopefully give you guys a little bit of leverage on how to get your attitude and your body to link together and get your optimal health, basically.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
let's start off, George. How did you get into wellness, and tell me your from when you were a little hike.
Well, my mom and dad, they were always into fitness and health. My mom was doing every fad diet back then, the Suzanne Summers
How
thing.
old are you? Are you okay with me asking?
How old I am now?
Yeah.
39.
39.
So I
I'm
was
holding.
90s,
Okay.
raised 90s
Okay.
baby. So yeah, that was a big boom with fad diets back then, Atkins diet, things like that. So I always remember my earlier years that my mom was always wanting to be in shape, staying healthy,
Right.
eating clean-ish, I guess. And then my dad was always into sports. He played baseball at a pretty high level, collegiately. He ran races like 5Ks and 10Ks and won some of those races. He was really big into fitness, working out, bodybuilding, that type of thing.
Would they bring you to the gym or bring you to events, or you just kind of
Yeah,
saw it and you modeled it, right?
for that, because I remember actually there was a small lifestyle fitness type place. And I remember my mom was trying to take me to a place, and I was maybe 5 or 6. And they were showing us around, and there was like a smaller little weight area. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's for kids.
Right.
And it was like, no, the kids area is like a daycare. Kids aren't really exposed to fitness that early, but I was already thinking about it because my dad was big into working out. So it wasn't so much that they took us to the gym. It was just kind of part of
It
their
was
lifestyle.
wiring your.
I was fast growing up. I was always um, liking to race kids and
Yeah.
play baseball, and I played football. Those were my early passions. But as far as fitness and that lifestyle, my grandparents raised us a lot, my mom's parents. And so my grandfather was always doing these fresh squeezed juices, like had the Jack LaLanne juicer. And
So you were never
yeah,
chunky.
never ever.
So
I was always skinny before I would be fat.
okay. So would that, because I was very thin growing up
Yeah.
too. Like I was.
I think the genetics plays into it too.
Yeah, yeah. But it was almost like olive oil for me. But I didn't care
Right.
because I was like, I don't care. I'm skinny. I don't care. I
Right.
would just do my thing. Like
Yeah.
I didn't. But I'm sure that's harder for people that grow up chunky,
Right.
or they
Yeah.
have a late growth spurt.
Yeah. And I always was more physically inclined. I'd be one of those kids that was deemed hyperactive. So, constantly had to be moving, wanted to be, outside playing around.
There were no meds for that
Yeah.
back then either. It was
Well,
like,
there was, but my mom was highly against it.
okay.
Yeah, my mom
Okay.
was totally against it.
How many was there of you?
Me and my sister. My
Okay, so
sister's
it's
11
two.
months older. And she's like a lot different than me. She's very intellectual. I was more interested in the physical things. I was interested in sports. So
Okay.
that kind of took me down those paths early on. But as far as health and fitness, it seems it was always a part of my life. But I'm a cultural, I'm Hispanic, Cuban descent. So rice and beans was very common.
Yeah.
But
Cheap. It was
right.
cheap too. It wasn't
Cheap.
right. You didn't have the meat.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we would, we'd do like ground beef
Mhm.
quite a bit, or
Mhm.
chicken, or like lean, like flank steak, like that type of
Right.
stuff. But I do remember real early as far as eating. And you talked about people growing up chunky. And, I have a sensitivity to people because some people, genetically, maybe they do put more body fat on easier. Like, but I think that early on in those ages, if I look at it more from a higher perspective, what I see is, man, that's where the relationship with food begins. Because I remember my grandmother every time we had a plate of food in front of us, and you think depression era people, of course and they're rationing. You better eat every bite.
Finish your
If
plate.
you don't finish your plate, the starving kids in Africa,
Right.
and we'd
Put
have
pressure on you to
that
finish.
mantra. But no matter what, I could not fit. I never finished my food, like ever. And, I think, look, kids, when they're hungry, they're going to eat. And
right. And
it's natural to want to eat.
When you're active, I can remember coming home from school in middle school. I was in track, volleyball. I would do everything, but I'd run miles and miles. I'd come home and we had a short window of like 25 minutes to take a shower and eat and get to youth group.
Right.
So, but I would be, after you run something, you're not hungry.
Yep.
You're trying to cool down.
Right.
Everything. So I'd be like, okay, it was good food, but I would come home after that and then I would eat a ton. I would, though, create an appetite on a Sunday with my grandparents where I would just eat all day. And
right.
They thought I had a wooden leg. I would just eat. But I think I created my own pattern because I never just sat down and ate a huge meal. I would eat, but I would eat all day long.
Yeah.
So
kind of graze and
same thing.
Not to full satiation, just eat enough. Right.
I was okay.
You eat too much, you slow down.
Right.
And I still act that now,
Yeah. I see with my kids now and my son where gaming, there was more the inside type of relationships. They don't go outside as much. Even with the workforce and stuff, there's a lot of remote jobs. So, people evolve, lifestyles change, everything happens. So taking you back, both of us, we were active.
Yeah.
I see that you were very active. Take me through your progression. We'll kind of fast forward a little bit.
Fast forward.
What brought you into the wellness, more emotional?
For sure. Yeah. More on the psychological, self-improvement type stuff. Well, I always feel there was this defining moment. I think everybody has these milestones, I'd call it, in their life. Right. Like where it's, okay, at that point, you'll just remember, hey, this is what happened. So when I was 10 years old, that's when my mom passed away. She, she committed suicide, and that was always a very tough topic to even bring up.
Oh, yeah.
During that time, my parents were divorced early on, so I don't really remember that as being like a traumatic thing for me. But definitely when my mom passed away, because the thing was, it was during Christmas time. And so we were out of school, and we actually had missed about a week of school because we were sick. And so my mom was behind on work because it was just us living in Virginia. Her parents would come help whenever they could. But so we were behind. So she had to take time off of work so that we could be home because we didn't have a caregiver or babysitters.
Right.
So around Christmas time, when school was getting ready to let out, that's when her brother, which is the youngest, had his first child. So that was my cousin. He was born like right around that time. So it was really, kind of like a crowning moment for the family. Like it was like a moment to celebrate, like, oh man, the evolution of life. My uncle's going to have a baby, and, so we were all planning to come back for Christmas. And so during that time, my mom wanted to catch back up on work. So basically she had her parents come to fly with us. And I'm telling you this long story to say that this was that moment, because I remember my mom, and I'm 10 years old, my sister's 11, and we're leaving on an early flight. She had a friend taking us to the airport, and my grandparents were there, and my mom's like, hey, I just want you to remember I'll always be in your heart. And at 10, how do you really interpret that? All I could think was, what do you mean? Are you going to leave us? That was,
you felt something.
Those were the thoughts, right? That feeling, that intuition, that gut instinct.
Yes.
So, I didn't know that's intuition at that time, that sensitivity.
Yeah.
Because, we always, we all live in a world where we're very emotionally smart in some ways, but then sometimes completely aloof to the world around us because we're in our own world.
Right.
So at that time, I remember just being like, something's off, just feeling like, hey, you're not going to leave us. Like, what's going on? I think, in talking to my sister, she felt the same thing. So I remember before we got on the plane, I was kind of throwing a tantrum to some extent to my grandparents, and they called my mom on a payphone, She's like, oh no, everything's going to be great. We're going to
So
come
you
back.
felt
And
it to that extreme
right
to where
where I
they
wanted
had
to
to
stay.
call. Wow.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
yep. So then we got on the plane. Well, she kind of like calmed all the nerves and then got on the plane, came here. And, we have a lot of family. I have aunts, uncles, like 2 aunts and my uncle, my cousins were all here. So it was, again, Christmas. So I just remember right away the mood shifted. My grandmother kind of made a call and I guess didn't speak to my mom and talked to a police officer or something. And so at that moment, I felt like my life had changed. Like I knew something was off. And, stages of grief, they talk about that, the denial, and almost like as I got older, being able to constantly be looking back because all those emotional anchors, right, trying to figure things out. So it was that, trying to figure out, like, man, first and foremost, life is short and life isn't certain that things are great. Because as a kid, you're very narcissistic. You think world revolves around me. I want that toy. I want this thing. I get what I want, sort of, so to speak. And my mom wasn't rich, but she was doing well enough to never really show my sister and I any kind of lack. So the fact that that occurred, and my mom was almost the center of my universe because we lived with my mom solely. My dad was here in Florida. So it was, man, that sent me off on this mentally. Okay, life's not certain. Life's not guaranteed. Bad things can happen even if you think you're good.
So you could have
a lot of questions.
You could have went 2 ways.
Yeah.
You could have, your mom's gone. You don't have that parental guidelines and guidance from her. So you could have went from robbing stores to acting out,
right,
to overcompensating,
right,
overachieving.
Yeah.
That's usually where the divide is.
Right,
so,
right.
So well, I know now you went the other way.
Right.
Right. So
for sure.
Go ahead.
So I think I was young enough then that I was still pretty well insulated because my grandparents were there and they were very more authoritarian, regimented, like wanting us to live on a certain, standard, right? Of behavior, of everything. My dad was a little more, I wouldn't say laid back. He was just more like, hey, he wanted us to be curious, figure things out.
Flexible.
More flexible. So we got to see both sides. So I wouldn't say I didn't completely veer off the tracks. I think I started to do that later, when I was in my early to late teens, just because, you start understanding things from maybe not fully being an adult, but seeing things, as adults, like, you question things more, I'm old enough now to understand a little bit.
So what were crazy? You can look back. We've had enough years and we understand why we did certain things or how we want to do things different than what our parents and our grandparents did with our own kids.
Right.
And it's not like our kids are individual. You're an individual. So there is no script for you to follow or plan. You're going to beat your own drum.
Yeah.
So it's incredible that I know there was a lot of grief and a lot of trauma and you deal with it every day. And I'm sure it rises up even when you see your own kids.
Oh, right? Without a doubt.
So as you went on and you got into your teen years and everything, how did you deal with that? Or what did you think about yourself? Or were you angry or did you try and overcompensate to be happy? Like, what did you do with all that?
Yeah, I would say a little bit of both. Like I was angry for a while, angry with my family, like all my family, in the sense this was something that was taboo. And, thinking back now, because the time has already passed, and God rest my grandmother, my mom's mom, and my grandfather, my mom's dad. And I think they were trying to do the best that they could. But thinking back, maybe partially the overprotection of it was maybe for Social Security or something like that, given the fact that it was a suicide or something like that. But it's funny, like, because if you're like into murder mystery, like that's kind of what it felt like, because my family was very unsure of the people my mom was around at the time. So that's why they felt maybe something nefarious could have happened.
Sure.
And I mean, at another time, we could go into details on that but I think that is kind of where the split is too, because part of the grieving process and coping with suicide. So let's just put it at that's what it was. That's what was said.
Sure.
That's what is.
Sure.
That it's a harder pill to swallow because, man, maybe I didn't know what's going on in a person that you love and you feel like you know, right? And that they would do that, and that the ripple effect that it can cause for everybody left over, and that in some way it was a disregard
Sure.
to everybody. It was a selfish act almost.
Yeah.
But then the other side, that split kind of like part of who I am is, well, maybe it was something wrong. Maybe someone did it because, you know, my mom was such a caring person. She would have never left us. So having that second, like that second of doubt, but that's part of where the anger came from. Like, why can't my family admit, people have told me now, right, that she committed suicide and that's what was said, but why can't that be the truth? Why can't that be what is?
Well, of course they didn't want to accept it because then they feel guilty.
Right.
And they didn't want to take that on, right?
And
everybody wants to blame somebody. So
right.
even if you get in trouble, think about that.
Yeah.
With your brother or sister and you did something, you're not going to raise your hand when your parents said, oh, who did this?
Right.
You're just going to sit there, and I would just keep quiet and they will get in trouble. So it's kind of the same thing.
That's like the logical conclusion for sure. Self-preservation and the amount of guilt. Because no matter what, if you're a parent and you lose a child or a sibling and you're kind of living your own life and you're kind of maybe ignoring some red flags from someone you love.
Sure.
Because no one ever really thinks that's going to happen. So
did this make you now more, because if we fast forward to where you're at in life, right? And people want to come to you because they want to do better. They want to feel better.
Right.
They want to look better physically.
Yeah.
And they may start off like real strong, but then all of a sudden they call you because they're sick or their car broke down, or the same thing like going to school. Like they're trying to get out of it, or they don't have that much. You have that intuition. You can read past it. You can see, okay, there's something else going on with them.
Yeah.
I feel that has helped me.
Right.
Everything I've gone through personally to be able to be like, okay, hold on. You know, I know what this is. You know, that type of thing. And then you understand them. So then you know how to navigate.
Yes. And, you know, knowing those feelings in myself, but I think more, and like kind of even in having this conversation, I think when I work with people that I put most of them in my mom's position.
Oh, wow.
That I am me now, and like that there's that part of them that wants to give up, maybe not on their life,
I see,
but on whatever it is that they hope for, dream for, believe in, and that I'm there,
almost trying to save them.
Right. Saving them is saving my mom.
Right. And that's deep.
Right. But that's more of, so that's why it's so much deeper to me. And when I really feel it, it's like that. That's the connection that I'm looking for. That's the level I want to help people at.
I understand that.
That pain, like that level of pain or self-loathing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. My mom had breast cancer when I was in 11th grade. And I watched her go through losing all her hair, the chemo.
Yeah.
I went with her a couple times to have the chemotherapy and just her falling apart before it. And she had a mastectomy, radiation, everything. And I maybe I didn't know this. And I also knew we lived in a nice house and stuff, but there was always in the background a little bit of money problems. So I started working when I was very young. I started working when I was 14 at Porky's Pit, because I wanted to have my own money and to make my own self safe. But then I saw my mom go into that, and I think that kind of supported my decision to go into healthcare too. I think that whole thing of you either go one way and you're the delinquent, or you're the savior.
Right.
So yes, I can relate with you. And I know, and I have compassion and I have empathy.
Yeah.
And I take everything to heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you have to, at a young age, because it does, it wires you a certain way.
Yeah.
Especially when you start, and it's hard. You have to understand, you have to start breaking patterns as you get older so that you're not overcompensating for your own feelings. You'll end up hurting yourself, taking on too much,
Right.
trying to save too much.
Yeah.
And I had to realize that,
Yeah.
right? I do it. Some people become higher educated for material things, right? Nice cars, big houses, going on trips, so on and so forth. Mine now is, it's a self-gratification, yes, but it also makes me so happy.
Yeah.
And I've learned to pull the joy out of it and not overdo.
Yeah.
And to like set boundaries and to understand that.
Yeah.
And even with my own taking care of myself and my wellness, because I know it can go one way. People develop eating disorders when they don't know what to deal with their emotions, or they'll gamble, or they'll do drugs, or they'll drink. They in general, speaking of patients, clients, friends, family, you really got to learn how to just sit with it for a little bit and process it and the hurt.
Yeah.
And not eat yourself out of it, drink yourself away from it. You know, I don't know, drugs, go shopping, whatever it is. And I guess bringing you here and bringing you as a part of my practice, I will never forget this. George said one thing to me and it resonates. And it's so huge. So if I'm fearful, if I'm hesitant to do something, I take the color out of it.
Yeah.
And I will always remember that was that simple sentence that you said to me.
Yeah.
And the picture that I can see.
Right.
So, just bringing it back full circle.
Yeah.
When I got to that point and I know, okay, now we're both fast forward, let's say like high school, you get out of that. What are you going to do with your life? And where are you going to go?
Yeah.
So we're a little bit of overachievers.
Right.
But I don't think that's a bad thing if you learn also where your boundaries are.
Yeah.
Right. And then the expectations of other people and understanding them. And sometimes we can meet them where they're at. They may not get to their full potential or where we want them to get, but let's see what their full potential is. So I set like a small, clear goal for them.
Yeah.
If it's just 2 pounds a week and then we start talking but I think it's a mindset too.
Right.
So if somebody like that came to you.
Yeah.
And they're grieving and they want to work out, what's your first step with them? Like where do you start?
First and foremost, I think it's kind of acknowledging where everybody's at.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times too, because I think we've all been there at times where either you're really ambitious and you set really high goals, and given the fact that maybe those goals are maybe unattainable for you, you're trying to take too big of a step, like your expectations of how soon you should be there are outside of what it normally really would take, even if you were the best. So it's first acknowledging where a person's at, I think is so important, because a lot of times it's the story around what's going on, and the payoff for people is in the pain, the hardship, the sadness. We all know what it takes to lose weight, and not saying that for some it's much harder out from the natural side of things, just biology. But if you really think about it, how do we lose weight? You burn more calories than you consume. So you eat less than what you consume. And I think this is where it comes down to the psychology. What's the relationship with food? And then what are the triggers and things that cause overeating and or choosing certain types of foods and things like that. But I also But I'm saying all that to say, acknowledging where a person's at, setting reasonable goals, and then not having such an instant gratification or the thought that it either has to happen at a level that I'm like, okay, this is happening, so now I'm fully committed. It's getting someone to commit to the path in spite of if the results would even happen.
Right. And even starting them, they're not going to run a marathon.
Right.
They're just not going to the first week or 2 or
Right.
4 weeks. It's just getting out of bed.
Right.
It's taking a walk around the block.
A small action.
Yeah. And it's maybe not having a late snack.
A late snack.
Yeah.
Or it's making a healthier choice. Instead of soda, drink water or flavored water or something that it's seemingly insignificant, but then now it's that goal is now present, but then it's like, hey, this one small action is actually moving me closer to where I actually want to be.
Your environment matters so much. So if you're around people that like to gamble a lot, right? And that's what you've been doing, you're going to be more likely to go gamble or drink. If you come from a family that everything's centered around food and you want to socialize because we're humans, right? We're mammals. We don't get released from our mother until 15 years, 18 years, whatever it is, right? So if that's our only home place to come around is around food, because I know just from my family, it's like, oh, eat,
right.
Because me as a mom, my kids, I feel better if they ate,
right.
You feel like, oh my God, I took care of them. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
So we're more nurturing. We want to take care of. So we feel better in this environment being around, just socializing and being around our family and friends. But if it's always just around the food and not someone that takes walks in food,
right,
you're going to be at a disadvantage.
Right.
So when I talk to my patients, I tell them, who's your support system? You and I have talked about this before, because that's like huge. Who you choose to marry or date, they'll slowly follow with you too, right? And you gravitate towards people that look good. Sorry, but if you're dynamic and you walk in there and you're dressed sharp and your hair's sharp and you're in good shape, you're 10 times more likely to get that job than a person that comes in sloppy and they're overweight and everything. So the first step, I have a real discussion with my patients and I ask them what their support system is.
Yeah.
And if they have other people out there that they can start reaching out to, because it's hard and it sucks to be lonely.
Yeah.
And we go through that. In our 20s is the hardest time of our life because we're leaving our family. Sometimes we got to do it earlier. Sometimes we do it a little bit later. Some people are stuck until they're 28, 29, 30, 35, and they're still at home. Like, get out.
Yeah.
Right. But eventually you do. So I'm just going to use the 20s in general, all the way up. It's a very lonely time and you don't know where you're going or who you want to be around. Some people gravitate to church and they hang out. Some people gravitate to the gym. Some people have gangs, some people they work themselves to death or they're in school and they'll just, overcompensate that way. So I think if you look back at your childhood and see how you're wired and you write all that down and you say, okay, this is why I am organized. This is why I put myself down. I say I can't do this. I'm not good enough. You're fearful. Like, where did that fear come from? Like, what happened in your life? This is why I overcompensate. And then look at, okay, I'm in my 20s. What happened in my 20s? And okay, so I'm a workaholic because I was afraid I would have nowhere to live or nowhere to eat, or I was so lonely, or I eat like crazy because I was so lonely and there was nobody else around.
Mm-hmm.
So just to kind of identify there all the different aspects that can contribute to where you're at in life. Well, listen, you don't have to be obese. You can just be sad and you can feel empty. You can have a job and you can have your house and everything else, but you need to take inventory and think, how do I get this healthy? How do I get this wellness? How do I feel good?
Yeah.
Because we can look great on the outside, but if you're a mess mentally and emotionally inside, I mean, that's going to be portrayed. Don't you agree? A million times over. So taking the inventory and starting from the inside out.
Right.
When you come into a room, it doesn't matter, 6:15, 5 o'clock in the morning. It's 4 in the afternoon. Your energy is contagious. And I learned this from a neuroscientist that what you feel and what you think, it creates pathways, right? You manifest it, neural pathways. And you actually, your heartbeat and everything, it radiates out.
Interesting.
And so when you walk into a room, somebody ever walk in, you're like, ooh, I don't trust that person.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Ooh. It's because there's something really wrong.
Yeah.
And it's radiating out.
Got it.
Or if somebody's depressed and they walk in, you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Or somebody and they come in and they're normally happy. In a second, something's wrong. When you walk in, it's funny because even if you've had a hard day, your honesty, everything is on your sleeve. We see it. You're still George. You still motivate us. And it's so cool because I think you've wired yourself to be responsible in the fact to own what you're feeling and what your emotions are.
Yeah.
Right? And you're very honest about them.
Yeah.
And I just see that propelling you so far, all your clients, really uplifting them beyond belief. So I want to talk about manifestation and ask you a couple questions.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Okay. If you weren't afraid of judgment, what would you say out loud today?
But what if I am afraid of judgment?
Yeah, no, you are. Okay, but you can't. You get it. Yeah.
Right.
No judgment. This is George Martinez.
Like zero judgment. Is that how am I going to put this?
Just put it.
It could be in many words. It doesn't have to be in one catchphrase or anything. All right. So if I was not afraid to be judged, first and foremost, if I was afraid to be judged, it may be being too sensitive about like just life and people.
Okay.
But just taking into account everything that I've experienced. And one thing, this is partially, I think, maybe the way I was wired to think, is that I always feel there's always someone less fortunate than me. That even though I could, in my world, those feelings could be level 100.
Yeah.
Basically my baseline.
Don't be a victim.
Right.
You don't want to pretend like you're a victim.
Correct.
But that's okay.
Right. I just preface it with that because, there's a lot, like if we're putting this in context in 2025,
right,
as great as the world is and as far advanced as the world is, I do have hope for humanity and people. And I think that people deep down inside want to be fulfilled on the highest level of spirituality in the sense that, really loving and caring for each other, and that it's up to us to help each other.
Sure.
In this world. We're able to have the privilege being in this country to do things we do.
But do you feel like you're trying to cover up or overcompensate the trauma you went through?
No, it's more like, there's wars going on, people being famished, poverty is it's a real thing, that there are some people that we're fortunate. We didn't ask to be born Americans. It's just, we've been privileged to that extent to have the opportunities we have. And it's just, I want to say that because in this country, we have a lot of division amongst people. Because one of the things too, like remember what we were talking about with the food, like you got to eat all your food,
Sure.
or that's bad,
Sure.
or and it's funny because there was a cycle with my family that like I just remember it with my aunts or my uncles. Like growing up, my grandma would say, and I'm not trying to change the subject. I have what I want to say.
I'm reeling you in.
But it's this. It's if you eat too much, you're fat. But if you start losing weight, oh my God, you look so skinny.
Yes.
You're sick.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's that's polarity. That's like hot and cold, black and white. And the world is not black and white. It's not on or off all the time. There is a gradient to life. You can see not everything has to be one side or the other. And I think that's part of people's problem. That they think things are bad or they're good. Like these people are bad because they're this. These people are good because they're that. And so what I wanted to say without judgment is that, that if we love more, really try to like really find that love. And I'm really discovering that it's self-love. Some things can either be a subconscious projection, like I'm projecting a lot of my fears and insecurities on my kids, for example.
Sure.
That it's me, it's not them.
Sure.
They're living life. They're like
you told me
completely
about that.
oblivious.
You told me about that story about Highland, like running in the street and you yelled at him.
Yeah.
And then he cried and you were like, I didn't mean to yell.
Right.
It was just, I got scared.
Yeah, it was me. I'm scared.
Yeah.
And so it's just funny because part of it is that self-conscious projection, but a lot of it is the self-love, like the judgments, the criticisms that I put on myself, things like that, I do believe that if we seek that genuine love, like judge less, like don't look to have, the standard for everybody. And not that there shouldn't be a standard. You know what I mean?
That's what I was saying.
So
what my standard, what your standard is may not be somebody else's.
Right.
I just want to get people to their optimal health.
Right. That's it.
Genetically, like whatever their predisposition for, we'll work with what they have.
Right.
And my biggest thing is to get the inside right and it will show on the outside. Okay.
100%.
I have another question. What's one habit that has kept you stuck and what can set you free?
I would say one habit that keeps me stuck is, people would say self-talk, just the way I talk to myself, the way I think about myself, the story of my life that I keep reminding myself of every day that I wake up. Like, this is who you are. This is what you do. This is.
Do you feel like you're not where you thought you would be?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Like not, they say one of the reasons why we feel pain or suffer in life is because our outside world is not meeting our expectations. Right. So when your expectations, what's happening doesn't align with what you expect, that's when in that gap is where pain is.
So, again, from this neuroscientist, which was so cool, and just from learning, with my degree in psych and then going through everything medical, when you think that and you manifest it, you're rewiring your brain.
Right.
Physiologically, you're rewiring your brain.
Yeah.
Then everything you do, it will project out that way.
Yeah.
So
you'll see it more.
Yeah.
It'll validate itself.
Sure.
I know.
So the steps to take, which
right.
which I know that you train other people and speak to them and coach them.
Yeah.
Is figure out, write it down.
Yeah.
Sit somewhere quiet.
Right.
Sit with it.
Yeah.
And be like, why am I thinking like this? And just one of those thoughts, how can I change that thought? And write it down.
Yeah.
And read it out loud and put it on your mirror, in your bathroom, write it in soap or whatever.
Yeah.
And just manifest it that way.
Yeah.
Talk to your friends about it. The one thing that I learned that is if you start telling people something that you're going to do, it holds you accountable.
Right.
And then you're like, oh God, crap. I'm going to have to really step up to this.
Yeah.
But then you start believing it yourself.
Yeah.
So even if people don't believe that you can do it at first or where you're at, eventually they're going to get on board. They're going to ask you about it, but you reroute it in your brain.
Yeah.
And it'll turn you everything. When you manifest that, it's going to physiologically and in your mind, emotionally, mentally bring you to that goal.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, so you might as well make it positive.
Yeah.
And you know that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just me and you talking, and it's showing that you are human.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can relate with
Yeah,
people.
that's the first thing. Yeah,
Right?
I would always want, and ultimately, you know, there's a certain degree of satisfaction that we all get in our own like self-pity.
Sure.
But at the same time, that's the main thing. Just that, hey, I'm a normal person. And because there's so much of the BS that we see on, you know, basically social media now is like infomercials of old, you know,
Yeah.
now. And it's really because the marketing has gotten so much better. What seems like it's just a conversation is still the same sales pitch that we've always got. So I just feel being authentic is really important to me because I at least want to relate to people at a level like, hey, you know, I know what I know because I've experienced it. And so I speak from my experience, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to project this image of I'm so great because at the end of the day,
you have to be raw.
Right. You want to be real. And ultimately the people that I really would enjoy working with is that, you know, sometimes you got to really shock people awake from their situation because they're sleepwalking. So having this larger than life personality or this grandiose vision for people, sometimes that shakes them awake, but some more times than not, it gives people false hope. Right. And so then they may start, but then they always fall off. They quit because you get sold on that feeling of achieving a goal or having all these things or having the body or something, you know?
Sure. So I know what differentiates you and your business and my practice. And it's not only that you do the physical and you train them, but you also work on the mental with them. So you're the CrossFit coach, sure, but you're the life coach.
Right.
Right. And my slogan is career telehealth and wellness. We move with you. In other words,
I like that.
Yeah, I'm putting the sneakers on with you.
Yeah.
I'm not just preaching.
Yeah.
I'm right there doing it with you.
I'm leading. I'm showing you the way.
Right.
Or I'm coming alongside you and taking the walk with you in the way.
So I just wanted to bring you on
Yeah.
to you know, let everybody know and see what you have to offer. So it's not just the physical CrossFit part of it, which God, I love you for it, but it's also, you're going to incorporate doing sessions with them for coaching for their mental wellness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too. So,
I feel like the body and the mind are like two sides of the same coin. And so it's obvious now, right? Nowadays, there's so many different ways to get your body at a certain level, but then the mind is still the same, like what we've been talking about just now. So I feel that the mind is almost greater because I had a mentor tell me, but I say this to my kid.
Was it Tony Robbins? He worked with Tony Robbins and was trained under Tony Robbins. So and
Tony might have said this, but this was actually a guy that lived here locally. He had a couple businesses, but you know, because I've always been on the physical, the body, you know, like that was kind of my armor growing up, like put muscles on, you know, self-protection in a way, almost like, hey, I'm tough, you know, but, and, you know, to some extent, we're visual beings. And so that's appealing to us, you know, like we like nice things. It looks nice. So that was kind of I think that's any young guy for sure I could speak of, is an early drive because you want to look good because you want to attract somebody.
Right.
But why I'm saying that is because he said that, hey, if your body is $1 million investment, your mind is $1 billion investment. Oh. And that always stuck with me because it's so true. Without feeding your mind, growing your mind, kind of like some of these things that we don't even know, like that, like I even spoke of here, I'm realizing things now about maybe the wounds that I haven't, addressed,
Yeah.
healed, or
Yeah.
things like that. And I know when you start talking psychology, there's still, for me at least, that taboo, like don't talk about your feelings and things like that. You have to be tough. And I think there is a give and take on that. Again, no black and white.
Right.
There's certain things that is better that you don't say. There's certain thoughts and emotions that they're going to be there regardless, but there's some things you gotta vet out. You gotta I think at the beginning of anything, you're where you're at because you have the wrong information. You've been following the wrong system. And so in order for you to take on a whole new system, you have to remove the old system first.
Right.
So that's why I think the mind has to come first.
And sometimes it's not comfortable.
It's definitely not comfortable.
It's just like working out. It's not comfortable sometimes. But the final effects or the after effects are beautiful. I've been getting an influx of men that have been facing, and it's crazy because years ago they would have never come forth. They would have been quiet. They would have sat with it, and they're supposed to be the man. But a lot of men have been coming forth with things that they've been dealing with, and it's led to depression and OCD and anxiety. There's some of the top executives, and on the outside they look like they have it all together, but in the inside they have those same insecurities and everything. And sure, they could talk to a woman, or they can go see somebody in person, but what you offer is making it more comfortable for them by working out with them, and then slowly just kind of talking and bring out the mental and the emotional, because it's not like you're sitting across the room and just looking at somebody and saying, okay, how you feeling today? What's going on? The endorphins are flowing, the dopamine's flowing. You're able to get more out of them.
Yeah.
Because and it's with women too. Like, you'd establish a rapport, you guys can laugh, you could talk about the family, you could do your stuff, and then organically things start to open.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
and that's always been the route that I've always taken.
Sure.
And it's something that I feel helps, but ultimately I think of it this way, because we're kind of beyond that too. And this is just part of me needing to evolve my approach and my business too. Sure. But we're beyond the point where people now are unsure of the field, right? Because I could be at this stage in my field where I still give it something tangible to grab a hold of. So then it's, okay, I'm not just here to hear from this guy and share what's going on in my life, but in reality, Tiger Woods, Andre Agassi, the best Messi, the best Tom Brady, all these best high performing athletes. And no one can deny that these people are firing on all cylinders. They all have some type of sports psychology, high performance mental coach that they're talking with.
They've all been through a lot of stuff.
Right.
Look at Tiger Woods and what happened with his marriage.
Right.
Look at Tom Brady and what happened with his marriage.
Absolutely.
So
it's undeniable that field is there. It's just getting people or helping people to understand, hey, it's actually, you're taking another step. It's one thing for us to sit here, and we brought up some things about the past, but it's, men, they say, are better. And I don't know how true this is, but men tend to compartmentalize things.
Absolutely.
They'll put things in a box. Hey, I'm going to set it on that shelf and it's going to stay there. And maybe or maybe not if I get around to it. And so that's kind of part of the upbringing. But the reality is, given the fact that, hey, this is how we are, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, it's like, look, you want to improve your life. We could talk about the past, but the past is kind of, it's so we can look at history and not have history repeat itself.
Thank you.
But it's not about, let's go back there and really start to, really draw out these emotions and kind of live in that and make you kind of this spongy, soft.
They make you lay on the couch in the olden days. We don't do that anymore. We want to wipe it clean, take the eraser, understand it.
Right. It's more about giving you understanding, not because, like, there's another, this is a Tony Robbins ism, is that it's not that knowledge is power. It's knowledge is potential power. It's the knowledge that's applied. The action is true knowledge, is what you do. And this is Tony Robbins' quote here, is that we are not at a lack of information. We have a generation and people that are starving for wisdom. You see what I mean? We could all say we know, but do you really know? Knowing is being able to do, and that's ultimately what I like to help people with. And another thing is when you're living in your life, and I see this all the time with me and even with my wife and us, you get into a routine. And when you have a routine of doing things, you tend to have a certain routine of a range of what's expected. Like, sure, this is the bad thing that could happen. This is the best thing that could happen. This is the most likely thing that could happen. But in reality, the possibilities are infinite, not just this narrow vision that you have.
Right.
And so what I do, or what I know I can do, and have done with a lot of people I work with, is just help them see the different possibilities.
Sure.
What else is possible? And I don't have to know anything about whatever that is. It could be anything. Sure. But it's
even how to get to the next chapter of your life.
Right.
Right.
Or whatever you want that to be.
Right.
Because we're so good at putting on our mask, or put the sock puppet on and be what's expected. So we've gotten probably better at editing, like before you say something, you edit it.
Well, think about on even social media, right?
Right.
I think
that's a perfect example.
Yeah. There's so many filters and everything, but I think the most views come from some clips that are raw.
Right.
Right.
There's no edits. Right.
Right. There has to be, of course, you got to be mindful.
You have to have standards. That's the reality, because those standards, it's the operating system. If you buy into a franchise, you're buying into a system of doing things. So you want to follow a system that's going to be successful. So that's undeniable. That, I feel, is a natural law.
Unless you're an entrepreneur and you want to create your own, and then your rules are your own.
It's true.
And hey,
but we have enough. I feel references, Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and, Amazon with Jeff Bezos,
right,
that we have enough people now, even still, and who knows what else can be created, or what's never been thought of yet that will come into existence.
I love it.
But
I love it. There's no limit. There's no ceiling.
Yeah.
And I say that to my daughter all the time, and to my kids. Whatever my ceiling is, let that be your floor.
Right.
And just anybody out there, that is what our goal is for you, physically and mentally.
Yeah.
Whatever you thought, or what I think is your ceiling, let it be your floor.
Yeah.
But we have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm just so appreciative that you were able
likewise.
to come today. And George is available. I'll leave any of your
I'll share
email and everything out.
Absolutely.
To do just the wellness coaching, the life coaching.
Wellness coaching. It could be geared towards your health. It could be towards anything, any goal that might be in the way, but particularly if we're looking at health and you're just getting started,
right?
Maybe on the weight loss journey or something in that realm, it'd be a good first place, because we see how much our health ties into every area of our life.
I'm just appreciative. Thank you for coming and taking time.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Yeah. And hopefully in the future, we'll have some podcasts just on topics that some of the patients want to hear about and everything.
That would be great. Yeah. Okay. Anything specific.
Yeah. Sounds
I'm interested.
Great.
Thanks, Danielle.
It's great. Thanks, guys.
See y'all.
Loved up and scrubbed in. Talk to you again soon.